The second area that I believe real estate professionals could use some help in is communicating with their database. And I'll give you some ideas on what a good agent's database should look like. And of course, if you're going to be a great agent, it needs to grow from here. And I'll give you the plan that I use to, with very, very little money, to work my database. And this will save you the $400 a month Brian Buffini coaching plan that you could just throw in the garbage. Every agent should have about 1,000 haven't met people they've never spoken to before. Those are people like people in their farm or just people in a network and so on. From that group, you should be able to get at least 500 people that you've shaken hands with or exchanged cards. And then in my business, I have 200 people that I work specifically that are in my sphere. And then from my sphere, I have 25 to 50 core people that are very important to me. Core people are people that send me at least one solid referral every single year, and they're consistent at it. Those are the people that I pay special attention to. And I'll give you the plan that I use to work this database. If they're in my haven't met section, all they get is an email, maybe a postcard if I was geographically farming. If they're in my METs database, people I've actually met, they're going to get a piece of mail and an email. If they're in my sphere, my group of 200, they're going to get a mail piece, an email, and a phone call. If they're in my core, they're going to get mail, a phone call, an email, and a personal visit. And I'll tell you how that breaks out. The reason I'm pointing this down to you guys is because I believe that real estate agents are looking to the internet a lot of times to solve their problems, when really any agent that follows this very simple plan can generate at least 24 transactions a year from doing this simple thing, and it costs you almost nothing. I'd hate for you guys to be climbing up in the trees picking the fruit that that's the highest up when you could be down there grabbing the low-hanging fruit. Back in let's say the turn of the century, back in Europe, they'd have the guys that would go down and they would pick the grapes. And some of the guys that would pick grapes, they would pick only the low-hanging grapes because they got paid by how much they picked. Well, the people that managed these vineyards, they didn't like that. So when they found a guy that was doing that, they would pin him down and they would rub grapes into their hands, so that their hands would be stained, because the grape picking season is so short. Whenever they went to a new area, they would see that their hands were stained and nobody would hire them because all they were doing is picking the low-hanging fruit. Inversely or adversely, I want you guys to pick the low-hanging fruit. I want you to get at least 24 deals a year from your database of 200 people. I want 24 deals a year. That's your base. And most of your markets, that's an income of $250,000 or more. And here's my plan. Very simple. Every single person gets an email once a week. It goes out every Thursday. It's called Hey Real Estate Fans. Every single month, everybody gets a mailing, a simple item of value. Maybe it's a list of books they should read. Next one coming out is a list of movies that are coming out this summer. It's something of value that reminds them that I care about them, and it reminds them that I'm in real estate. And then every single month, everybody gets a phone call directly from me just to talk to them. My goal is to get them to ask me about real estate. So whenever they ask me a question, my response is simple. I always use the word work. How are things? Good, just got off work. If they don't know where I work, they're going to say, so what are you doing for work now? But of course, I've called everybody so many times they all know. They're going to say, well, how's real estate? Well, it's actually pretty good. The reason it's good is because I've been getting a ton of referrals from my friends and family. Not that I couldn't use more since we're on the topic. Who do you know that's looking to buy or sell real estate in the next 30 to 60 days? It's a consistent reminder. I'm training my database to send me business. They have enough things going on in their life, they don't remember right away that I'm the person they should be sending all their deals to. So I just remind them monthly. The nice thing with calling your database is you can do that while you're on the road. You can do that while you're at a doctor's office. You can do that while you're waiting for a client. I do it in the time that I'm just wasting when I have to drive somewhere. Of course, with the Bluetooth headset, Washington State, that's the law. My goal is to take that 200 people, I divide it by 20 days in the month. That equals 10 calls in a month, or 10 calls in a day. So everybody in my database, 1 call a month. It only takes me calling 10 people a day. And then The people that are in my core, they get visited 3 to 4 times a year. That's either me going to their house, me taking them to Thai food, 1 because it's fast, 2 because it's cheap, or inviting them to parties. And we do a variety of things: movies in the park, rent out the movie theaters, we do a Christmas party for all of our clients, those types of events that get everybody together. Also, in my weekly email, I always tell them where I'm going to be. This weekend I'm going to be at the XYZ fair. Make sure you swing by. It gives me an opportunity to run into the people so I don't have to go out there and visit them in person. I tell you, if you follow this simple plan, this is your 18 to 24 deals a year. And if you call me at the end of the year and you haven't done it, I don't know what I'll do. I'll give you some prize. If you don't get 24 deals from doing this, I don't know what happens. It's probably because you didn't either say the right things, or you didn't call them enough, or you didn't mail them or email them. It's usually one of those simple solutions. Well, communication also is important when talking to sellers. You got to have a plan in place to communicate with your sellers. 1, because you want them to like you. You want them to like you because you want them to trust you so that you reduce the price. You want to make sure that these sellers are thinking that you're doing everything that you possibly can. So here's a good sample seller communication system or plan that you can use. Day 1, as soon as you take the listing, if you have a staff member, have your staff member call them and introduce themselves. If not, you call them right away, let them know that everything's been entered. Write them a handwritten note. Let them know how important it is that they're in business with you now and how excited you are to help them and their friends and family, and put a couple extra business cards in that note. On day 7, send a satisfaction report, a list of things that says you've done these things and how do they feel about it. Let them rate you, and if they aren't entirely happy, do whatever you can to make them 110% happy. On day 30, send them a traffic report. How many clicks did you get from Zillow, Trulia, on your Active Rain blog? How many times did you post it on Craigslist? How many agent showings? What were the feedback? How many open house visitors did you get? All the different things. Put that into a 1-page report and send it to them, along with a survey with a self-addressed envelope coming back to you, and also ask for referrals. Then, weekly, make sure every week you call your clients. Pick a day of the week. Thursdays or Fridays are the day you call your sellers. If you don't want to talk to them, use slide dial. It'll take you directly to their voicemail and show up as a missed call. Set them up on some sort of automated email. You want your clients to know what's available on the market. Even if they're not buying, they get to see your neighbors' houses when they come on the market so they can see what the real price points are. Send them just listed and send them just sold, and do it every single week. Then when you're ready to speak with them, they're just going to be ready to drop the price. I want you guys to think about every time you meet with somebody, that's an opportunity to get another piece of business. So when I'm meeting with a buyer or I'm meeting with the seller, by the time I'm done with the presentation, I'm going to say, I have one more question for you. It seems to me that when people are getting ready to sell or buy a home, they most of the time run into other people that are thinking about buying or selling a home. Can you think of anybody right now that might be able to use my type of service? I ask everyone. If it's a buyer, I might even offer something along the lines of, hey, if you refer me somebody who's looking to buy or sell a house before we close on yours, I can credit you the entire cost of your home inspection. It's about a $400 savings. Can you think of anybody now? Every single person gets asked every single time, always asking. They have to fuel your fire. They have to help build your business, and they're willing to do it. They decided to do business with you. There's no better person in the world to ask. Our current client is 10 times better than a past client. Additionally, you need to have a communication system for your leads. How are you going to work these leads at the highest level? I'm going to share with you 2 systems that I have. One system is for working signs and flyer calls, and this is something I stole from a rockstar mega agent in Texas, but it works, and it's aggressive. Let's start with sign calls. Somebody calls on your sign, or somebody calls on your flyer. We use call capture and text messaging services, and I'll give you the services that we use when we get to this section where I give you 20 tools that you must have. Right away, we call the client within 1 minute of them calling the call capture service. If they don't answer, I call back again in 1 minute. If they don't answer, we call back again, and on the third call, which is minute 3, we leave a voicemail. We do that because nobody in their right mind can avoid 3 phone calls in a row from a number. After that, if we haven't reached the person, we'll call them once a day for 7 days. After that, if we haven't reached them, we'll call them once a week until they buy or they die. The only time we remove the contact from our database is once they purchase a home or once they've deceased. I hate to see them die. I'd much rather see them purchased. But I'm going to keep trying until either one of the two happen. See, the coach that was coaching us said 1 out of every 11 sign calls should end up in a closed transaction. That's an important stat to know. How can you work your sign calls so effectively and so aggressively that that will end up in a closed transaction for you? The next system that you have to have in place is for internet leads. Now, it always brings me back to the days of the Glengarry Glen Ross video where the gentleman's sitting in this table there drinking his coffee and he says the leads are weak, and I forget the guy's name. He responds back, "You're weak." Leads are leads. Whether a person came from Craigslist, pay-per-click, one website, or another, they're all leads. They're all people that are curious enough to go online and search for properties. They've all given you a valid piece of contact information. That means they're at least somewhat interested. Each one of those people has an opportunity to buy a house from you. But you got to work those internet leads hard. Somebody registered on the website, call them within a minute. Leave a message on the third call. Same thing. Internet leads are interesting. A recent study by Inside Sales and MIT said that if you waited 10 minutes to call somebody back instead of calling them within 5, you were 30 times less likely to get a hold of somebody. If you waited 30 minutes instead of calling them in 5, you were 100 times less likely to get a hold of that person. Knowing those numbers, how does that make you feel? I mean, you're sitting there and you got a sandwich in front of you, you're having lunch, you deserve lunch. You got the Subway because you're thinking about getting healthy, and you start snacking on your sandwich. All of a sudden your phone vibrates and there you go, you got a lead. And you're thinking, do I eat my sandwich or do I call the lead back? You got to decide, well, what's the average transaction worth to you? My market at $7,500. I've never seen a sandwich worth $7,500. I would drop that sandwich faster than I'd throw it on the floor, and I'd call that lead right back and try to sell them a house. They want immediate response. Once we've called them the initial day, we're going to call them once a day for 7 days. We're going to email them at least once a day for 7 days, and that's an exaggeration. We usually take 1 day off. We're going to call them once a week at least until they buy or they die. We're going to set up auto listing alerts. And what I mean by that is we're going to go into our IDX. We're going to set up so it automatically sends them properties. I'm not going to do it from my MLS. My MLS sends them 3 properties that match their criteria, and then it dead ends them. I want to send them from my IDX that says, here's 3 properties that match your criteria, plus there's 37 more. Click here, and they start searching on the website because I want to see what they're looking at, and I want them engaged. We're only going to remove them from the database once they purchase and once they've deceased. We have a list of sample emails, phone scripts. It's all included in IMSD. I have a version 1.0. IMSD has a 2.0. I'll post the version 1.0 on facebook.com/IMS designation for any of you guys that would like to download that. I'll make that available free for you guys on there. You just got to jump on there and say you're interested, and we'll send it to you. So these are systems. These are systems to communicate with our past clients, to communicate with our leads, to communicate with our sellers so that we get price reductions. These are aggressive, and they touch people a lot. There's more touching in this than a Michael Jackson video. I mean, it is just all about being in front of these people as much as you possibly can.